Hi guys, I have got a really fun page for you today in my pocket page notebook. Starting with my photos, of course, 2 crazy photos. Trying to take a new headshot photo for 2019, and of course I can never do that without pulling some sort of silly face as well. And to go with my silly faced photo, I've got this mixed media background that I made. So I just show you a close up here of how cool this turned out. I was just playing around one day, but I did actually turn the camera on, so I will show you how I did it. And it's as simple as this. I trimmed out a piece of cardstock, just regular cardstock, and I haven't prepped that with anything. I think probably if I did it again, I might try a little bit of like clear gesso or something like that. And then all I did was grab my watercolors and a paintbrush and plenty of water, and I did like a million splatters, as you can see here. I did a couple of different versions of these, and this one here I was just going all out with colors, so there wasn't any particular color scheme. As you can see, I'm just using the entire rainbow and making a real mess of my watercolor palette here too. Now the reason that I'm doing this page is because I wanted it to be sort of, you know, bright, colorful. I wanted it to be like a party because this is my 500th video, so I'm super pleased, super proud, super excited that this is such a huge milestone for me. 500 videos is a lot. When I think back of where I started, I have come a very long way in terms of knowledge and confidence. And so again, I say it all the time, but I really mean it. If you've been here for all 500 videos, if you've been here for the last 50, or if this is the first video that you're watching, thank you so much for all your support, because couldn't do it without you. I've just trimmed down my paper here, and I was planning on using just the middle part of it, but I ended up sort of using one side. It almost creates like an ombre effect, and what I'm gonna do is stamp out my title with this awesome Spencer Alpha from Citrus Twist. This is in their store at the moment, and I really love it. So I'm gonna spell out my title here, and I wanted to stamp it on the side so that I could fit the whole title, which is gonna be Silly Girl. I didn't want to stamp it just in black ink though. Those photos are really light and bright, and I wanted to do something a little bit lighter on the side here. So I'm gonna stamp in white ink, and I start off by using my Brilliance ink, which doesn't go well, as you can see, or not see, as the case may be. So I give it another try with some Hero Arts Unicorn White ink. I think it's called Unicorn White, which worked a little bit better, but not super perfectly. It's easier to see in real life than it is on video here, so I carry on doing that. But my plan is that this light white ink was really just as a guideline for me. I'm going to stitch around these letters, so it's less important that you be able to see it and more important that I can see it. So I'm going to stamp these, and then I'm going to stitch around the outside of them. I'm not going to do that on camera because, as you can see, it's really impossible to see what's happening. So I just turned the camera off and then used a needle and thread, but I did punch holes around the outside of the letters first. As you can see here, it is super light and lighter than I wanted it to be. So I just stitched in white ink, white thread, and now I'm going to use some white ink just to lighten up the inside of the letters a little bit. They didn't have enough, quite enough contrast for me, so I'm just using a paintbrush again, the same paintbrush, and some of that Liquitex white ink, and really lightly, trying not to do too many brush strokes, filling in the inside of my stitching. Those are watercolors, so if you rub too much with ink or any sort of liquid on top, they will reactivate, which I did find out in a couple of places. And so I'm just trying to do as light a touch as I possibly can. And then because I'm super impatient, I went and hit that with my heat tool just to dry it off. And I did actually do a second coat. Once I dried it, it was still a bit too translucent, it wasn't opaque enough, so you can see after 2 coats it is lighter, but you can still see that watercolor effect in behind there. Now the rest of the page is really quite simple after that, with all of that sort of brightness, color and texture in there. There's not really a whole lot else needed, so I'm just going to stick each side of this onto my book. Now I am working in the middle of my book here, so now I'm just going to leave a little gap in the middle here so that the book can still fold. It's not paper, it is regular like textured cardstock, so it is quite thick, and it's probably thicker than what I would normally put on both sides of a spread. So I am leaving a little bit of a gap. I did this really badly. It's not even remotely straight, but I did notice that I hadn't stuck it down that well, so I managed to pull that off really easily. And I tried again, and this time glued it from the middle, so it was at least straight down the middle, which was what I was after. Now another thing with this paint is it is sort of flaking off a little bit, so I think if I did it again I would try and seal it with something as well before I did all of this. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to now, so I'm just going to have to live with it, I think. I opened up these whimsical die cuts, and I couldn't believe how perfectly my photo fit into that purple frame, so I definitely had to use that. It was the exact right size. And then I saw that purple cloud that matched it, and that was what gave me the direction for all these little die cuts that I'm going to use. So I'm going to keep it simple. You know, I was going to come out with that as simple as it gets on a page like this, and I'm just going to repeat that cloud shape again and again. So there were 4 in that die cut pack, and there's 1 left on my puffy sticker sheet, and I've got a couple left on these cardstock stickers. So I'm just going to stick down my photos first and then go about placing the clouds. Now, full transparency here, once I finished filming, I did realize that not a lot was staying stuck onto this page, hence the fact that I probably need to seal it with something. So what I did do is go back and sort of lift everything that was lifting up. I lifted it all up and then glued it down with some liquid adhesive, and that has kept everything well stuck there. I did the same thing with this frame here. There was no way my tape runner was going to glue those tiny little strips, so I used a glue pen, and the part where I used the glue pen did stay stuck. So it was just anywhere that had that tape runner, it didn't stick because the paint was lifting off the page, which in turn lifted all the little die cut pieces as well. I'm just spreading out these clouds, so I want to put a bigger one at the top there. The yellow draws your eye up to the silly photo, and I did use my puffy sticker to cover up this really large dot of pink that was just overwhelming things a little bit there. And I created a wee cluster of 2 there, so I'm not really going with my normal triangle, my normal 3. I'm just sort of using the clouds randomly around the page. So I've added a couple onto the photo at the bottom here, this pink one and the purple one, and then a couple on the other side, and that was when I realized there was 1 left here, a yellow one. I didn't want to put the yellow one there because there was too much yellow close by. I realized if I pulled up this purple one, which came up really easy because of aforementioned paint problem, I could swap those around, and it just brings that purple over to the left hand side as well. Now all I've really got left to do is add a tiny little bit of journaling, and there's not a great deal of journaling for this story other than I'm a clown and I can't keep a straight face when I got a camera on me. So I'm just adding that in a grey pen so it doesn't overwhelm the page. Like I said, this is a light bright page. I didn't want a big pile of black journaling on there. And then that's it. The paint splattering took ages but was so much fun, and you'll see another video with that technique in it very soon, I'm sure. I'd love to know what you thought of the page, so leave me a comment down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you want to keep watching, there's a couple more videos on screen. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Bye guys.